interpreter. LeBron, who turns 41 in December, will be sidelined at least 3 to 4 weeks with a sciatic nerve injury. In each of LeBron's 7 seasons with the Lakers, he has played an average of 59 games. LeBron has not played all 82 games in a regular season since the 2017-18 season when he was with Cleveland. LeBron was 33 at the time. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Tavis Smiley with a final word here about the upcoming Left Coast Forum on Saturday, October 25th at LA Trade Tech. As you know by now, our major keynoters include Professor Richard Wolff and Dr. Cornel West. LA Mayor Karen Bass will be there as well. But listen to some of these plenaries: fighting for black students and educational equity, resilience under Trumpism, how to stay sane under fascism, the battle for democracy, what's at stake in 2026, healthcare under attack, fighting Trump's cuts, and building patient power from seed to as well. But listen to some of these plenaries: fighting for black students and educational equity, resilience under Trumpism, how to stay sane under fascism, the battle for democracy, what's at stake in 2026, healthcare under attack, fighting Trump's cuts, and building patient power from seed to system, building a local food economy in South LA, theater as a force for change, voices from Palestine. The Constitution is not self-reinforcing. Racism on the left, building communities of care, federal changes and their impact on healthcare in LA County, Committee for the First Amendment, and more. The Left Coast Forum is brought to you by the LA Progressive, the Empowerment Congress, Community Coalition, Partnership for Growth LA, Southwest Voter Registration Education Project, LA Care Health Plan, United Teachers Los Angeles, Black Progressive Action Coalition, St. John's Community Health, the National Lawyers Guild, the Vanguard Foundation, and more. Space is limited, so if I were you, I'd register right now at KBLA1580.com. That's KBLA1580.com. Your voice matters, your presence matters. We'll see you there.
Yeah. I get better every take, goddamn it, you ain't know. Yo, look. Crazy how I'm still getting better, huh? No emotion, just denim tears on my sweater, huh? Feel like I might be the last real ever, huh? Been a whole year, still playing catch up, still give zero effort, huh? Yeah. You still ain't get the lesson, huh? You on your ass letting life pass, tricking off the blessing, huh? Everything you missed in your adolescence, you can buy the fake image, that don't mean they respect it, huh? Yeah. Big hopes, big dreams. Make 100 M's off of 16. Full circle, we the fam, never switch teams. Boss, be the man that the kids need. It ain't no accident, we planned out to touch everything that we got. Learned everything I am from everything that I'm not. The crown in my city, don't care when you niggas drop. You getting what you handed, inherited nigga spots. I told them it was time, they stared and nigga watch. Keep your distance around me, if you square, stay in your box. I'm good in every hood, I'm standing on any block. About to kick the door down, y'all swearing was locked. Hey, and that's on me, yeah, we got it on lock. Yeah. Cold red, big green, yeah, we got it on lock.
KBLA Talk 1580, that's a little Miles Low music on lock. Loving that. I'm so excited to welcome in someone who I admire. She immigrated from Iran in 1985. She'll tell us more about her journey. She's got a bachelor's in psychology, human development from Vanguard University, Master of Arts in clinical psychology from Pepperdine, and she's got her PhD in international psychology with a concentration in trauma services from the Chicago School of Professional Psychology. It sounds like the degree specifically needed for this moment in history if I was going to define one. Dr. Annahita Mahdavi West, welcome.
Oh, thank you so much, Sister Dominic. It's an honor to hear that you're admiring me. I'm an admirer of you, and I listen to your podcast, your show, radio show, and it's an honor to be here. Thank you so much for your invitation.
Well, of course, it's my pleasure to have you. And I think that your journey is really inspiring right now in this moment. It's not going to be inspiring anytime, but right now folks are looking for stuff to hold on to. And there's a quote of yours that I think captures the moment. Whatever you do in life, you said, whatever you do in life, make sure it has purpose in serving others, especially the least of these. For me, that is achieving the ultimate joy in life. And I take that quote as more salient now because people are trying to understand how to stay brave, how to stay encouraged, and not feel completely spent and helpless in this moment.
Hmm. Hmm. Yes, absolutely. I understand that people's point of view and their lens is always limited to what they see around them, and of course that's natural because that's the reality. The lens that I'm seeing the world through is by what I'm experiencing currently. But I think it's so important to remember the history and remember how we got here. So, for example, the history of the Black community in America, if it wasn't for those courageous, brave, and sometimes almost prophets, metaphysical individuals that did what they do, uh, America wouldn't be here. The American democracy wouldn't be here. And so when you look at what they went through and what they had to endure, when we look at other countries, other nations, other communities, what they had to endure in the past, the history of human beings, we realize that, of course, our life experiences are so important in shaping us, but um, we are here because of brave people, because of courageous people that never gave up. And the world has always been a square for fighting, evil against good or bad against good or right against wrong. And so knowing that we have a limited time between birth and death, um, it is absolutely important to have a purpose in life, to find a calling and fight for it. But it's also absolutely important to remember this little short journey. We deserve to create joy. We deserve to create laughter. We deserve to see the beauty in the world as well. This has been the history of the human beings, humanity. This is what it means to be human, and um, sometimes I feel maybe I'm a little um, um, desensitized to fear and domination and um, authoritarianism because of what I've been going through. But when I look at the history of Black community, um, I've said it so many times that I feel like if there is any superiority in human capacity and bravery and survival and resiliency, we should find it in the Black community. So I look up to people like yourself, people like your beloved, honorable, your father, and my husband and Dr. King, and so I use those role models and keep going.
Your husband, of course, being Dr. Cornell West, my father, Amiri Baraka, and so many others. You came from Iran in the 80s and lived
Hmm.
as a UN refugee in Turkey for a while. That's got to be.
Hmm.
Talk a little bit about that experience. It sounds traumatic, speaking of trauma.
It was, and it wasn't.
Hmm.
I believe that something profoundly happened to me and changed me during my travels to Turkey. Being very young, sheltered at home with parents in a somewhat traditional society. I was so blessed and lucky, in a sense, to have the parents that I had, a father that was so ahead of his time, a scholar, a writer, a poet, a mother that was so spiritual, an educator. And so I think that upbringing in the family is everything. What is the seeds that are planted inside you is everything. but still, with all of that, you live in a shelter life when you are with parents living at home. So then that separation from parents, from community, from culture, from everything that you knew all your life can either literally crush you or changes you to become a different person. And I do believe that there has been a profound there were profound events that changed me and shaped me in that 2 years and almost 7-8 months that I lived in Turkey. It's really interesting you're asking about this, because one of the people that was with me there, we grew up with each other. We're not blood cousins, but we call each other cousins. He's much, much younger than me. So when I was there at the age of, I would say 21, he was only 15 or 16. He just went back to Turkey and sent me a couple of pictures from the places that we used to stay. It was a few of us. And it just feels so surreal that we actually did survive that life.
Yeah.
And sometimes harshness in life changes you to see yourself, to understand yourself. What are your capabilities? What are your limitations? What is your capacity to grow? And when I look back, as much as the traumas that I see, I really don't want to change a day of it. And I'm so grateful that I experienced it.
Wow. That's elevation right there. So then after that, you end up you're given a residency in Sweden. So another complete transplanting of everything you knew and understood, right?
Right, especially the climate. Growing up in Middle East, and then living in Turkey, still part of the same climate, not necessarily geographically, but the climate. The culture shock was not just the societal culture shock, but it was also climate. The prolonged darkness of the years, the nonstop snow, so cold that if you cried, your tears could change to icicles.
Wow.
And this is about, 80, we're talking about 87, 88. It's very changed now. Sweden is not as cold anymore, so the climate has changed over there as well. But one thing that was so warm about it was that I was with mom and dad. Yes, I got granted to be, as a UN refugee to go to Sweden. My father and my mother, my older sister were there. And because of my father's political background, I was granted that residency. I stayed there for, I would say, 2 years and a few months before I came to America. But I have to tell you, sometimes I do ask questions of myself. Why did I ever leave Sweden? And I think the most important thing that comes to mind is the lack of diversity in Sweden back then, and the climate, and the feelings that I had, certain gut feelings that I have to move on to get to where I wanted to get. I didn't even know where is it that I want to get. It was just a gut feeling. But leaving mom and dad for a second time, this time by choice, has always and still is a question mark I have. But sometimes you just give in to your destiny and whatever is calling you.
Dr. Annahita Mahdavi West is my guest. She's sharing her journey with us and just how it's informing this moment today. So many of the issues that she's faced and things she's overcome can certainly inform our experience right now. We'll keep it going when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
A safe place to go loud. A great place for progressive politics. KBLA Talk 1580.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now.
800-550-9651.
Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com
or call 800-550-9651. That's 800-550-9651.
Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Seems like there's more identity theft in the news every day.
Another major healthcare breach was reported today, resulting in the exposure of
1 in 4 consumers have been a victim of identity.
That's because there are endless places that could accidentally expose you to identity theft, in a breach, or simply by mistake. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it, guaranteed or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS at lifelock.com. Terms apply.
Stop settling for weak sound. It's time to level up your game and bring the boom. Hit the town with the ultra-durable LG X Boom portable speaker and enjoy vibrant sound wherever you go. Elevate your listening experience to new heights because, let's be real, your music deserves it. The future of sound is now with LG X Boom. And for a limited time, save 25% at LG.com with code FALL25. Bring the boom. X Boom.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code MAJOR25 to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code MAJOR25 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code MAJOR25 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
Thanks for waking up with Dominique DePrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
As usual, I appreciate you. And 800-920-1580 is the spot if you want to weigh in. There's also a great conversation going on in the comments, as usual, because we just have brilliant KBLA delegation. Dr. Annahita Mahdavi West is our guest this morning, and I'm just fascinated with her story and really so grateful that she's agreed to come on and share it with us. After immigrating from Iran in '85, going to Turkey as a UN refugee, then she was granted residency in Sweden, stayed there for a couple of years, and came to the United States where you were granted political asylum. What happens next?
Yeah, well, that process of becoming documented took a while, probably, I would say, more than a decade. And after I had my, I came here with visa, of course, legally with a passport, and then applied for that asylum. And what happened was I gave birth to my daughter here in America in 1996, and went back to school and got my bachelor's and my master's and my doctorate. And I was, again, very blessed to have my very first internship as a clinician within the juvenile system, being a clinical therapist, a psychotherapist, associate psychotherapist for the minors. When I was working there, I started seeing the connection between all these incarceration rates and drug use, and little by little understanding how these drug use issues and drug policies, and they, contributes to mass incarcerations from children to adults. And of course, because of the kind of father I had, we were educated by him about the history of the injustices and inequalities in America. And I started reading many books by Cornel West, by Angela Davis, by many other scholars. So I was pretty aware of the injustices and inequalities. And then seeing this connection between drug use issues and drug policies and incarceration was something that I was thinking about, how to become active, in some form of social justice. And literally by default, I fell into this. Because when you get out of a master's program in a clinical psychology program, I got my master's from Pepperdine University, you just have a very small, maybe a course or two, if you're lucky, in drug use issues and addiction treatment. It's more focused on mental health. And so what I learned about addiction and drug use was by my internships and going to treatment facilities and work as group facilitators or co-facilitator. And I also got my certification in addiction treatment counseling. And ever since, and by 2015, I started also by 2010 teaching part-time in colleges. And I was so blessed to be able to get the trainings that I got. And then I was full-time. I became full-time professor. I was hired in 2015 on tenure track in Long Beach City College, actually for the Health and Human Services program, teaching addiction treatment courses and mental health courses. And it has been ever since working as a professor, but also as a clinician. I mostly work with underserved population that have some form of trauma, PTSD, impacted disorders. It's been a long journey. Summarizing it is, it's not that easy, but I hope I did.
Yeah,
I'm trying my best.
no, it's helpful. When you decided that you were going to look at trauma services, and even this idea of resiliency in the face of atrocities, how was that driven or informed, or to what degree, by your own experiences being an asylum seeker?
You mean how my own lived experiences impacted my
your choices. Yeah, your choices. What to work on.
Yeah, I think that had definitely an impact on it. I think having experienced personally, loved ones struggling with mental health and other issues have impacted it. But I have always separated my own personal experiences from my practices. Even though you're right that it has impacted me to seek, what is a human being made of, and how, in the face of trauma, resiliency can come and save the day. But I've never made my professional life working with students and clients about my story. It's always about their story. I keep it separate. But you're absolutely right. It definitely has had an impact in my choices.
When you look at what's happening now, I mean, we have a refugee program that's been basically halted, and now the administration is talking about doing these overhauls so that they would favor, as they do in South Africa, the white minority, favor people who have been so-called persecuted for supporting fascist regimes, what they call populist regimes, that they have this new measure of what makes someone likely to assimilate, i.e., being white and speaking English. How does that land for you, having gone through this system yourself?
Right. I mean, the concepts of assimilation and acculturation are such old subjects that we're still researching. What the administration doesn't understand is that the concepts of assimilation and acculturation really has nothing to do with what country you come from. It's very different. And I think what also they don't understand, maybe are not aware of, is that as sad as it is and unfortunate for us, but maybe fortunate for them, majority of the immigrants assimilate to American-style living. Majority of the immigrants take side with white supremacy. Majority of immigrants have the view of, the American dream. And I mean, look at the statistics of immigrants that voted for Donald Trump.
Yeah.
So I think this is just a oppression and ambush on the immigrant community, not necessarily those who are for him. There are many immigrants from Middle East, Africa, or South America that are siding with him. I don't necessarily think he has any issues with them, but we see that the oppression and the ambush is again towards the underserved. Those immigrants that are millionaires here, even if they're undocumented, they're not being impacted. And unfortunately, the issue is deeper than that. The issue is the broken immigration system in a country that you can stay under the radar and undocumented for years, 20 years, 30 years, and have your children here, grandchildren, build your life, buy houses, and live without documents. And now after 30 years, they come after you. Rather than looking at the individual, they need to look at the system. I don't think in any country, at least some of the countries that I have experience with, anybody can live for years and build a life. There's requirements of people, especially immigrants. There's certain numbers, national numbers or ID numbers. You cannot even rent a place without those numbers. So they're not fixing this broken immigration system. It's very suspicious.
Yeah.
Because if they fix it, what else do they have to work on to run their campaigns on it?
Yeah, it's well said. Dr. Annahita Mahdavi West is my guest, and we'll continue the conversation after news, traffic, and sports on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DePrima when we come forward.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. The federal shutdown enters another week, now the third longest in U.S. history. Democrats want health care subsidies. Republicans demand a deal first. Your Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson.
This is the first time in history that any party has had the audacity to shut down the government over a totally clean, nonpartisan continuing resolution.
The Senate voted 50-43 on Monday, marking the 11th failed attempt. Good Morning America's Robin Roberts has donated a cutting-edge broadcast media center to Southeastern Louisiana University. The 33,000-square-foot facility will help journalism students thrive. And Cardi B is speaking out against the Trump administration's proposed $186 billion in SNAP cuts, warning it could hurt food pantries during the holidays. She's urging easier access to aid amid rising costs. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Right now, there are young people across the world facing a tough choice. Continue their dream of education or drop out to help their family put food on the table. You can help change their future in a single moment. See how far your support can go at unbound.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Dodgers will play the Toronto Blue Jays in the World Series. Toronto beat Seattle 4-3 Monday night to win a decisive Game 7 in the American League Championship Series. Toronto had a better regular season record than the Dodgers by 1 game, so they will have home field advantage. Games 1 and 2 will be Friday and Saturday night in Toronto. The NBA regular season tips off tonight. The Lakers are at home tonight against Golden State. For the first time in LeBron's 23-year career, he will not be playing in a regular season opener. LeBron, who turns 41 in December, will be sidelined at least 3 to 4 weeks with a sciatic nerve injury. In each of LeBron's 7 seasons with the Lakers, he has played an average of 59 games. LeBron has not played all 82 games in a regular season since the 2017-18 season when he was with Cleveland. LeBron was 33 at the time. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Donald Trump has all but declared war on California, sending in the National Guard, blocking disaster relief, and cutting funds to our colleges. And now, he and Texas Republicans are trying to rig the next election by stealing congressional seats from black voters in states like Texas.
They want to rig these elections, and they want the power that gerrymandering provides.
Seriously, look it up. But Prop 50 is how we fight back. It gives Californians the power to fight fire with fire and beat Trump at his own game. Prop 50 creates temporary emergency congressional maps that level the playing field and protect the power of black votes. Not just in California, but across the country. Your vote matters, and the whole country is counting on California to lead. So use your vote to protect our power, our history, and our future. Vote yes on Prop 50 by November 4th. Ad paid for by Yes on 50, the Election Rigging Response Act, Governor Newsom's Ballot Measure Committee, Ad Committee's top funders, HMP for Prop 50, and Fund for Policy Reform.
Tavis Smiley with a final word here about the upcoming Left Coast Forum on Saturday, October 25th at LA Trade Tech. As you know by now, our major keynoters include Professor Richard Wolff and Dr. Cornel West. LA Mayor Karen Bass will be there as well. But listen to some of these plenaries: fighting for black students and educational equity, resilience under Trumpism, how to stay sane under fascism, the battle for democracy, what's at stake in 2026, healthcare under attack, fighting Trump's cuts, and building patient power, from seed to system, building a local food economy in South LA, theater as a force for change, voices from Palestine. The Constitution is not self-reinforcing, racism on the left, building communities of care, federal changes and their impact on healthcare in LA County, Committee for the First Amendment, and more. The Left Coast Forum is brought to you by the LA Progressive, the Empowerment Congress, Community Coalition, Partnership for Growth LA, Southwest Voter Registration Education Project, LA Care Health Plan, United Teachers Los Angeles, Black Progressive Action Coalition, St. John's Community Health, the National Lawyers Guild, the Vanguard Foundation, and more. Space is limited, so if I were you, I'd register right now at KBLA1580.com. That's KBLA1580.com. Your voice matters, your presence matters. We'll see you there.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Autopsy Initiative provides a second autopsy free of charge for victims' families who have lost their loved ones due to a police-related death. The services offered through the initiative include the completion of a second autopsy, disclosure of preliminary findings, and a final autopsy report. A police-related death is when an individual is harmed by police officers using deadly force, which results in an individual's death. Police-related death includes in-custody deaths, including those that arise during contact with law enforcement officers during arrest, pursuit, booking, transport, or incarceration. The Autopsy Initiative has a team of board-certified pathologists on call. An autopsy request may be completed by anyone with a close relationship with the victim, which may include the victim's spouse, partner, relative, close friend, or lawyer. To request a free second autopsy for a victim of police violence, please visit knowyourrightscamp.com. That's knowyourrightscamp.com. Then click on Autopsy, then click on Request. At KBLA, we believe in justice for victims of police violence. We say their names, and we don't black down. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we do more than just talk.
You got a big mouth. Hello, Joe, you're up. Welcome.
We're unapologetically progressive, and we don't black down.
Dr. Annahita Mahdavi West is a professor of human services addiction studies, and she is our guest this hour, just sharing her journey and how she got to where she is, and how it's informing this moment, not just for her, but for all of us. And it's so interesting that you say that, Dr. Mahdavi West, because I always think, whether it's a Democrats or Republicans, our immigration system and all of the problems with it is a can that's been kicked down the road for generations because politicians don't want to deal with the blowback from making real change. It's been consistently racist, it's been consistently inconsistent, and it's been a hot mess under both Republicans and Democrats.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you would think that any government with such massive immigration status, especially with such a history of the country being built on immigration, would have polished the immigration policies by now. And can you imagine if a government, if America, let's talk about President Trump, instead of ambushing the immigrants and kicking them out, I understand to look into the crimes, but the crimes in this country are being committed by citizens more than immigrants. You can look at the statistics.
Yeah.
But to think about maybe a more humane approach, to think about what can we do to improve the system. Maybe we can hire more immigration officers because they are also understaffed. Give them more budget, have more interviews being done, have a system of registration, have a system of maybe even amnesty. I think President Reagan was the last president that gave an amnesty, because when you bring these immigrants that are under the radar and are working without work permits, you bring them to a official status, then can you imagine the taxes that go back to the government? Can you imagine the many benefits that can go back to the government when when they are citizens, when they have work permits? And also, I do understand that when people are undocumented and do not have work permit, can be exploited. I can understand that.
Yep.
So from whatever angle you look at it, you need a humane approach to this issue, not sending police with masks and dragging people in the streets. These are scare tactics. These are, tactics that are being mimicked from the fascist societies. And it's unfortunate to see that, but I don't think it can continue this way. I think for a while, maybe because President Trump loves to, inflict fear. But look at what's happening. Thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of people in the streets for whatever causes they have to go against these tactics. It's really, I don't know, for the lack of better word, it's interesting that that Trump's administration cannot see, what they're doing is going to have such backlash in a couple of years or a few years when it's the elections are up again.
Yeah, I think that's right. I keep saying that they're overreaching so wildly that there has to be a backlash, and I don't think it lasts either. But we are in this moment, and even the conversation with you right now, the part of the division, particularly with African Americans in this moment in history, I hear, immigrants don't respect us, whether they're refugees or immigrants or legal or undocumented, that there's a disdain for the African American community and that we're stereotyped. There's a lot of anti-immigrant, I think, sentiment being fanned around that basis. We're always last in line. Immigrants step over us and they go to the front of the line. And so it's so interesting to hear your orientation of coming into this country already with a respect and some understanding of the role that Black Americans have played, not just in the formation of this country and this immersion, this so-called democracy, but also on the world global quest for justice.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, that view is not far from reality. So I can absolutely empathize with Black community in America, African American, Black American community in America, because it has a lot of truth in it that immigrants come here, and unfortunately, that view towards the African Americans and Black Americans somehow has been shot through their system, whether coming from where they come from or by becoming Americanized. So unfortunately, that is not far from truth. But one thing that the immigrants need to know is that if it wasn't for Dr. King's role in the 1965 Immigration and Nationality Act, none of us could be here. So we owe our prospers in immigration to America to Dr. King and the Black freedom fighters. But, education and knowledge can bring some, they say it's power. Well, I don't know what kind of power, but education and awareness might bring a little more balance in the view people have to their surroundings and examining their society.
Yeah,
and
I think that's one of the.
Know that.
I think that's one of the reasons why this administration is going after educators, and creating this environment where, and the governor just signed AB 715, which means that an anonymous student can report you, Professor Mahdavi West, and say, well, she's too progressive, or she's teaching something that made me feel uncomfortable, and then you could lose your career, you could be targeted. So, I believe they're doing that because educated voters do not vote for Donald Trump.
I think some have. I think
yes, surely some have.
Some have. Yeah. I don't necessarily believe that a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, or a PhD brings humanity to people. It's a title, it's a degree. I know people that are not educated and have so much more humanity than anyone with titles and degrees. And I think that I think it's the service to ourselves that are fighting for justice and equality to think that only uneducated people have voted for Trump. 50%
fair
of
point.
Society cannot. Yeah, I also refuse to believe that a lot of things that people do is unintentional. And no, it's pretty intentional. Those people are very smart. People that are implementing these policies, they know what they're doing. They're smart. It's ignorant means you don't know something and you do it. They know what they're doing, and so we should know that we are against a power that does have education, does have understanding, knows everything, and it's very intentional in their policies because they are in their core racist. I'm not saying the people that voted for Donald Trump. I refuse to believe that everyone that voted for Donald Trump is racist. But if you go with the policies that are oppressing and doing all this harm to your fellow human beings, you need to examine yourself. What are you made of? What are you made of? Because I don't want harm to to Donald Trump either. I am opposing probably 99% of his policies, but I was not partying when he got shot. I was not partying when Charlie Kirk was shot. I do not believe that wanting to harm people and see them killed and tortured is the solution either. What we forget is that spiritual aspect of social justice, that talks about the human beings being of the same family, interconnected. And so I think we have a long way to get there, but it starts with us, individual, one at a time, to change our views, understanding that what we're fighting against is pretty educated and powerful and has all the intentions.
Yeah,
to
I
do
mean,
what they
I
do.
didn't mean to imply that the administration isn't educated, or J.D. Vance went to Stanford. He's an attorney, and on and on. And I know that they do have constituents that are. But what the data show us is that the further people go along in their education, as far as the voters go, the less likely they are to go MAGA. And so I think you're right to point out. I don't mean to be an elitist and show up as if only people with college degrees have sense or humanity, but there is a clear trend line there. The more opportunity folks have to learn stuff, the less likely they are to vote that way. But I also take your point about the intentionality of the white supremacy is definitely not an accident.
Absolutely, yeah. It has never been. It's just so. I mean, I have to say, disgusting and ugly. Something that I constantly struggle with. That how our certain human beings' nature is made. That you can do the harm to other person because they look different, because they're the differences they have with you. But when you look at the history of colonialization and the tactics and techniques of becoming, coming across as superior, it's in the history of human beings from day one, however human beings were. So this is why I think that it's important for us to remember this is not a new fight. This is not a new situation, and it's always been. And while we should acknowledge our fatigue, compassion fatigue, we should also acknowledge that there's more in life than just being so preoccupied by the ugliness.
Yeah. Dr. Annahita Mahdavi West is my guest. We will keep talking when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DePrima when we come forward.
Open enrollment is your opportunity to choose a plan that connects you to Providence's comprehensive healthcare network. Choose a plan that includes Providence and gain access to a dedicated team of highly trained primary care physicians and specialists. From nationally recognized doctors and hospitals, Providence ensures quality care is always within reach. When you choose Providence, you choose after-hours care through our nurse advice line, urgent care, or virtual express care. You choose 24/7 access through the Providence mobile app to message providers, request prescription refills, schedule appointments, check lab results, and more. This open enrollment, prioritize your well-being with the peace of mind that comes from choosing a provider that values excellence and compassionate care. Don't just choose a plan. Choose a plan dedicated to health equity and community engagement. Choose a plan that believes health is a human right. Choose a plan that delivers exceptional care and cares about your community. Choose a plan that offers Providence. Visit chooseprovidence.org to learn more. September is World Alzheimer's Month, a time to shine a light on a public health crisis that deeply impacts Black families. 1 in 5 Black adults ages 70 and older is living with Alzheimer's disease, or AD, and the risk is twice as high compared to white adults. But AD isn't just forgetting a name or losing track of time. Signs of early AD could be repeating questions, missing appointments, or struggling with bills and daily tasks. These things aren't a normal part of aging. Here's the good news. Treatments are available that may help if AD is diagnosed early. If you notice changes in memory or daily routines, whether in yourself or a loved one, don't wait. Early diagnosis and intervention are key to managing AD effectively. To learn more about AD and a potential treatment option, visit treatalsearly.com. That's treatalzearly.com to learn more about the signs and symptoms and a potential treatment option. This message is brought to you by AZI.
The conversation continues right now with Dominique DePrima on First Things First.
Dominique DePrima and Dr. Annahita Mahdavi West, as a clinical psychologist and a person who has had your own lived experience, but also specialized in this idea of resilience. What advice would you give to activists, scholars, students right now who are struggling keeping their own mental health afloat because of what's going on in this country?
And I see that all the time. I mean, your question, I see it in a lot of people around me. I think what I want to tell them, if I could call it advice or suggestion, recommendation, is that to be aware of the signs that they feel in their mind, in their body, to constantly think about the fact that if I want to lift someone's, if I want to hold someone's arm and lift them up, if they're falling off a cliff, and I'm the only one to save them, do I need a broken arm or do I need a strong arm? So if you are a social justice activist, if you're an activist, if you are a scholar, if you're anyone that wants to, help lift people up, you have to be strong yourself. You have to work on your own health. And it doesn't mean that you, when we say strong, it doesn't mean that you do not acknowledge your own fatigue. Fighting for justice, being aware, being an advocate, being a conscientious human being is tiresome because you're connected. You're connected to the other people's suffering. You're not ignorant to it.
Right.
So while you are aware of that and you are aware of the fact that there is fatigue at times, in order not to fall apart and not to give up, you need to take time for yourself. There is no selfishness in self-care. There is no selfishness in having some joy despite the fact that you're aware of someone's suffering. So whatever that people's coping strategies are, as long as they're healthy. Unfortunately, there's a lot of one of the highest rates of drug use right now as people cope with those self-medication, and it happens all the time during the trauma phases of human life. But coping could be surrounding yourself with people that love you, that see you, that hear you. Coping can mean that, taking a weekend off and go to wherever that you like to be, whether it's mountains or ocean or just a park. Coping means to read a little more about the history and read about the histories of resiliency and see that, it's an ongoing fight. Awareness of your own emotional and physical health is the first step. If you have constant backaches or headaches or can't sleep or oversleeping or can't eat or overeating, these are signs, and don't take them lightly. Seek help. There's always help. There are many nonprofits, clinics that can offer professionals that can help you. You don't have to have a particular issue to see a therapist. You can just go talk to a therapist and, talk about the fatigue that you have. Seek help and don't isolate yourself. Connect to people that love you, that see you, that hear you, and don't be shy to find joyful activities for yourself. There's nothing wrong with that.
I love the way you say that. You don't have to have a particular issue. Go figure out why you're feeling weird. And I'm imagining this means keep our eye on our kids too, because I remember during the COVID, all of the challenges that teenagers face, and then I see these Trevor Project findings that LGBTQ plus youth are really stressed out. Not at all surprising, considering they're being targeted legislatively and socially. So I would imagine keeping one eye, whether your child is LGBTQ plus or not, keeping an extra eye on their mental health right now is a good idea.
Absolutely. I mean, watching for each other and trying to create a union of the family is a union that the very first understandings of trust and love and support starts in, to make sure that our families are somewhat more functioning and healthier. And never forget the spiritual meaning of social justice. Social justice is, yes, being in the streets and organizations and protests and all of that. But it's also, there should be a sacred recognition of social justice, that if you're in that, it's basically an idea that all human beings are worthy of that dignity of a love and the interconnectedness that we have. You know, if looking at us as human family, and a lot of people have talked about this. A lot of people have talked about how social justice is connected to this spiritual meaning of it. You know, Dr. King is the role model and the leader, you know, when he talked about that, and many other people. So when we talk about, if you connect the spiritual meaning of social justice to your social justice fight, then you will also have this respect and value for your own well-being, that I need to apply that to myself, the balance, the love, the peace. And so don't forget that, because you don't want to, when you fight monsters, you don't want to become a monster. So keep at peace and keep that balance for yourself.
Yeah, it's so well said. Back to your point about not celebrating the death or demise of others, although it can be tempting when they seem to be celebrating your death and demise. It doesn't mean you have to enable them, but we do have to remember you don't get to walk up to people and kill them. We value human life, and we are taking the position of right, not only because of what's in it for us, but because it is choosing good over evil, as you said earlier. Dr. Annahita Mahdavi West, thank you so much for being with me this morning. It's a pleasure talking with you.
Oh, thank you. It's my pleasure. Thanks again for having me. And you're doing a great job. You yourself are a leader in this fight. So I appreciate you, and I appreciate the invite.
Oh, thank you for that. Well, we're going to be at the Left Coast Forum next week. If y'all haven't gone on and registered, it's KBLA1580.com. Sign up, and I will see you there, because that's another thing we can do. We can do some fellowship. Tavis Smiley's up next on this Tuesday. He's got an incredible lineup for you as per usual. Don't forget to tap in with me on social media. I'm at DiPrima Radio, DIPRIMA, and then radio. Yes, I got a TikTok. Yes, I got an Instagram, a Facebook, a Twitter. Like my mama, the great Diane DiPrima, used to say, history is now, and we're making it together. Until tomorrow, one love.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. The federal shutdown enters another week, now the third longest in U.S. history. Democrats want health care subsidies. Republicans demand a deal first. Here's Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson.
This is the first time in history that any party has had the audacity to shut down the government over a totally clean